Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. For today's video I thought I'd do a review of Resident Evil Degeneration. So I'm not going to try and sound all fancy or like a critic or anything. This is going to be just more of an informal rundown of the film and my thoughts on it. What I did enjoy, what I didn't. And I'm going to give a brief overview of the plot and the characters and what happens, but I'm not going to have any real major spoilers or anything like that. So I just want to say thanks for checking out my review, and now let's get started. Made by Capcom and Sony Pictures and released in 2008, Resident Evil Degeneration is the first Resident Evil CGI movie, followed by Resident Evil Damnation and later Resident Evil Vendetta. The film is set in 2005, 7 years after the T-virus outbreak in Racoon City and the city's subsequent destruction by a nuclear missile strike by the US government to prevent the virus spreading further across the United States. The film's two main characters are Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy, two of the survivors who managed to escape Racoon City during the events of Resident Evil 2. Leon and Claire are two of my favourite Resident Evil characters, and it's good to see them together again, and with the G-virus returning as well, it makes the film kinda like a nice little reunion of some of the characters and themes from the second game. I think this film is the first time we saw Leon and Claire together again since RE2, or at least in the franchise's timeline, so that's something that's pretty cool too. The film opens with a view of the airport, with planes taxiing and taking off on a hot day, which sets the atmosphere of a busy airport pretty nicely and accurately. We see Claire sat on a bench waiting for someone, and it's told to us that Claire is with TerraSave by this point, which is cool as it reminded me of Revelations 2. I thought that was the first time TerraSave were mentioned, but they're in this film too. If you don't know who TerraSave are, they are an organisation who help victims of areas where bioterrorism happens, and they campaign and lobby against the creation and use of bioweapons by terrorist organisations and rogue governments. I'd say the CGI in this film is pretty good, especially the environment, but the character models do look maybe a little dated, but not to the point of being distracting or anything, and still perfectly watchable. In the latest games, like the remakes of 2 and 3, I'll probably say the characters look even better than this 2008 CGI film, which shows how good game graphics are getting. So by this part of the film, we see that there are protests against a company called Will Pharma, as it's rumoured that they have been researching some of Umbrella's old viruses, and there's a politician who has stock in the company arriving to the airport. When we see him, he is an ugly, bossy and obnoxious man with bodyguards, giving us the initial impression that he's not very nice and is perhaps going to be a villain. We also learn that an ex-scientist named Curtis Miller from Will Pharma has been arrested for having links to bioterrorism, and that the company wants to distance itself from him. Wanting to avoid the reporters and protesters, the politician tries to sneak out of the airport unseen, but is spotted and hounded by a protester wearing a zombie mask. I thought this moment was pretty cool, as it was kind of like, is he a real zombie under the mask or not? But Claire ripped the mask off his head and told him off for it, and then when the bodyguards chased him off, I thought that was pretty funny. But then a security guard starts arresting him, but just as he before he's about to do the same to Claire too for being involved, there's a real zombie and it starts biting people, causing a panic, and then people start turning into zombies, and that's how the outbreak begins. Something I thought was weird is that why do people in this film turn into a zombie after only about a minute after being bitten? I didn't think the T-virus worked that fast, and that didn't happen in the games. If you got bitten once, you didn't get infected and turn into a zombie yourself. You just find a herb and heal yourself. But sometimes it did happen to other characters, so I'm not sure. I suppose that just happens when the plot needs it to. So then a plane crashes through the airport wall and lots of zombies come out of the door. How does zombie even open the door of an airliner anyway? I found it hard enough to believe they'd know how to turn a knob like in the first game, and then in the remakes they'd smash doors open by banging on them, but with an airliner you have to turn a handle and push it outwards and kind of like to the side at the same time, like a side door on a van. But yeah, we're probably just supposed to overlook this. So then a load of zombies come out of the aeroplane and infest the airport. We did see this happen at the start. The aeroplane, there was a guy in the aeroplane while it's flying and he looked sick, like he was turning into a zombie, and he said he was from Will Farmer. So yeah, this film does get going pretty quickly. We're probably about 15 minutes into the film and the outbreak has already started. So now the airport is under martial law, with the police and military both blocking off the area, and the airport has been placed under quarantine. So we see one of the other main characters now, a policewoman who is with SRT, which looks like a SWAT unit of sorts. She is talking to her team member, and then we see that the president has sent a special agent to help deal with the outbreak and to lead the rescue operation, and that agent is none other than Leon Kennedy. So then we get a scene where Leon and the SRT enter the airport. We get a lot of action with them shooting zombies, and Leon tells them to shoot them in the head, even though you don't do that in the games. You can just shoot them anywhere, but again, in this film the zombies are more like the standard Hollywood zombies rather than the zombies like from the games. But yeah, and then Leon and Claire both meet each other, and they did the thing where he said get down, like in the intro of RE2. Some people might like callbacks like that, but for me personally they made me cringe a little, but it wasn't that bad. So then they shoot some more zombies and make it out of the airport, with that politician guy being a real POS and pushing this little girl out of the way so he can get to the exit first, and nearly got her eaten by zombies, which I thought was pretty funny, and shows again he's not a very nice guy. And then we see the military entering the airport to mop up the remaining zombies. So considering the movie is known as being set in an airport, it was only actually the first half hour actually inside the airport, so it's just the first third of the film, kind of like RE2 again I guess, as it's mostly known for the police station, but that's only about the first third of that game too. So then Claire goes to Will Farmer and Leon goes with the policewoman to search for Curtis Miller, as they think he's behind it. While at Will Farmer, Claire learns that they have the G-virus, but then a bomb goes off and destroys part of the building. Leon doesn't find Curtis at his house, so then goes to Will Farmer and meets Claire again. Then there is a G-virus monster, and there's a battle with it and some soldiers. Then Leon has to fight it. It was cool to see a G-virus creature again as well, and it looks similar to William Birkin with the big eye, but kind of different too with the tail. The raw sound the G-monster makes sounds really cool too, especially if you have a subwoofer or surround sound. I think that was a really good sound effect. Something I thought was weird was that At one point, Leon gets whacked by the monster and goes flying like 20 or 30 feet, but he's completely unscathed and just gets up and runs away without even a limp or anything. I'm pretty sure if that happened in real life, you would break your legs or something. And then we get to the end of the film. I won't spoil the ending, but it was pretty cool, and the baddie wasn't who you first thought it was going to be, which I always think is a cool twist. And right at the end, it has a little bit that leads us into Resident Evil 5, which I thought was really cool and helps tie the universe together, which I really appreciated. So I have actually seen this movie shortly after it first released, but it was so long ago now, I'd pretty much forgotten everything about it other than it being in an airport and having Leon and Claire. I remember renting it on the PlayStation Store to watch on my PS3, so this was probably about 12 years ago or so now, give or take, which is crazy to think about and makes me feel old. And I do remember there was a game released for this movie too, which I played for a few minutes on my brother's iPhone 3G. It was pretty impressive for a handheld game, especially back then when smartphones were just starting to become the norm. I was like, wow, this is the sort of thing you'd see on a PSP. Something I would have liked to see more of was the zombies, and maybe we could have spent a bit more time in the airport, and it could have been a lot scarier too, as it wasn't very scary whatsoever in my opinion, and the zombies were only in the first half hour when we was in the airport. So overall, I thought the film was good and I enjoyed watching it a lot, plus it had Leon and Claire together, which is one of my favourite duo of characters, and zombies too, and to top it off, the CGI movies are canon to the games as well, unlike the live action movies. I definitely recommend watching it if you're a Resident Evil fan. Also, I'm looking forward to the Netflix series coming out soon, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, which reminds me of this film, but looks like it might be more horror oriented. So thanks for watching my review, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.